There we go. Thank you for watching. Today is a busy morning for me. I really want to make this video. I'm in the process of uploading a previous video I made to YouTube. And my son got the Student of the Month award at school, and I'm going to try to find my digital camera and get a picture of that medal to put the picture of the medal on Facebook. And I have to go to work today. But let's start off with my book review here. Let's see, Women and the Priesthood. What one woman believes by Sherry Dew. You get to be with me for a first here. This is the first time I reread a book after I had the idea that I could put book reviews on YouTube. And I'm only putting there are books I've read that I'm not putting on YouTube. I'm only putting the best books that I find on YouTube. And I endorse this book. I think everyone should get a hold of it and read it. This is a great book. And let's start off with page 13. I'm going to give you a little review, but not read the whole thing, but there's a list on page 13 in the middle of the introduction of some of the important things that she does know. One thing that she acknowledges in this book is there are things that we don't know, that God hasn't told us. And God doesn't have to tell us everything we demand or answer every little question every human on the whole earth has. If we were to say that He owes us that, then we would be making ourselves God if we thought we could boss God around like that. I know that women have a divine errand. I know that God expects women to receive revelation. I know that God is perfect, and so is His Son. I know that women are vital to the success of the Lord's church. I know that both women and men have access to God's highest spiritual blessings. I know that God reserved the high privilege of motherhood for women. And I know that converted women can change the world. Okay, so what are some of the highlights from this book? Here, one thing she points out in the book is how we've had a change in our culture. She went to a play that was brand new many years before I was born. I think she said the 1950s. And it was shocking to her the attitudes towards women that were demonstrated in that play. And so the culture is changing, and most of those changes are for the good. When it comes to respect for women, one of the things she points out is incomplete knowledge. Yeah, we don't have complete knowledge. God doesn't tell us everything we might wonder about, all the questions we might have. Yeah. One thing this book touches on is, are women ordained? And why or why not? And you might have guessed that from the title, Women, Priesthood. But one thing that muddies the waters of this issue of women being ordained is in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, women do things in the church that would require ordination in other churches. This Sunday, if you go to a Baptist, Methodist, Episcopalian church, and there's a woman up there speaking, you can bet she was ordained, because in most other churches, the person that's up speaking has been ordained. Most churches have one steady every week speaker who's been ordained. But if you go to a Latter-day Saint church this weekend, you'll probably see a woman speaker. If you don't, go the next week. You'll see a woman speaker. And she's not ordained. And there might be a man speaker who's not ordained, because you don't have to be ordained to speak at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But in addition to that, the Relief Society is a organization of the church for the women, and women lead it without being ordained. They lead it. There's a group of 3 women that is the presidency of the Relief Society for the whole church. They're in charge of millions of women without being ordained. And women take part in the temple ordinances. Tomorrow I'm going to go to the temple for the endowment ceremony. And watch my other videos if you want to know what the endowment is. I'll try to remember to put a link below to my other videos that touch on what the endowment is. If there are no female temple workers who haven't been ordained, that endowment will not happen. We need them there to be a part of the ordinance of the endowment. One thing she points out is that the devil is very against women. And you can see that to some degree in our the things about our culture, the changes about our culture that aren't good. Women are definitely being undervalued in our culture now. And one reason the devil is so much against women is Mother Eve did the right thing in the Garden of Eden. And that really caused some problems for the devil. In the Garden of Eden, God won when the fruit was eaten by Adam and Eve. He didn't lose. God did not get outmaneuvered by the devil. One thing she points out is a lot of some other Christians, non-Latter-day Saints, they hate Eve. They still haven't forgiven her for what she did in the Garden of Eden. And some Christians worship Mary. But the right attitude is somewhere in between. There's no woman that we should be worshiping. No mortal woman from this earth we should be worshiping. But we shouldn't be looking down on Mother Eve for getting things started. If Mother Eve did not eat the fruit of the tree, she and Adam would have had no kids. We wouldn't be here. Some people talk as if Mother Eve eating the fruit meant that we were born into this world with their sicknesses and weather fluctuation, with the constant climate change, which we've had from day one. Someone would talk as if Eve brought that all upon us, and if she didn't eat, we would be in paradise, a perfect world. No. If Eve did not eat, we would be spirits stuck, unable to grow spiritually. We would be a father in heaven, so it would be better than... Could have been worse, but still, we wouldn't have had this earth to come to. It would have been Adam and Eve only in a perfect earth with no problems. One thing she points out is men and women are completely equal with God on the issue of personal revelation. Any woman, anywhere in this world can, with sincere prayer, communicate with Father in heaven and get answers. And one thing she points out is some people try to compare the way the church is organized to the way businesses are organized, or some charity groups, or political or government organizations. But the church is organized differently than those things. And man, woman, okay, yes. One thing she points out is men and women are incomplete by themselves. They need the other to be complete. Some apostles have described it as when a man and woman get married, they become a whole. and there will be no single exaltation. And she points, one thing that annoys me is when people trying to make my church look bad say, Mormons believe that if a woman doesn't get married, she's not gonna get into the best place in heaven. And they imply, in the way they say it, that man doesn't have that same restriction. But the Lord is equal. The Lord treats everyone equally. And a single man, a man who doesn't get married, will not receive the highest level of the celestial kingdom. It goes both ways. It's not that the man could get up there single and the woman can't. The man has to get married too. She points out that we have a heavenly mother. We don't talk about her a lot, but we can be certain that she is there. And so one reason that's important, the belief that we have a heavenly mother, is anyone that says women are not going to be equal to men, and Mormons believe women are not going to be equal to men in heaven, is wrong. Anyone who says that the man is a god in heaven and the woman's just there, or the woman's there for him to have sex or only, or his breeding machine only, is wrong. Mother in heaven has all power. She is equal to Father in heaven, I'm sure. And Doctrine and Covenants, section 132, when it lists all the rewards that we will get if we are married the right way, when we get to the final judgment and get into heaven, it says they will be, they have all things under their power, angels subject to them, all things subject to them, they will have all things. The woman has all those things too. And the man who's married will not get those. The man who is single will not get those things. She talked about the importance of motherhood. God treats women and men equally, but that doesn't mean he gave us the same bodies or the same responsibilities. A man cannot carry a child for 9 months in his body. There are no pregnant men. There never has been a pregnant human man on this earth. And women's bodies make the milk for the newborn baby. That is the best thing for the baby to eat. I've seen news reports on the internet or videos on the internet claiming that some man was making milk. If there was such a case, it was because he was having some kind of chemicals or hormones injected, and it wasn't his body doing it all on its own. Yeah, and she talks about how important women are to the church and the growth of the church. And she quotes Spencer W. Kimball, a true prophet of God who was a prophet in my lifetime, part of my lifetime, but that was when I was young and I don't remember. I don't have any memories of Spencer W. Kimball, or at least any memories of hearing him talk when I was alive. I've seen videos of him, of course. I've read some things and seen videos. But the earliest prophet I think I have memories of is Ezra Taft Benson. But Spencer W. Kimball said that the most of the growth in the church in the last days is going to be women joining the church, because women have more sensitivity to the spirit and are more spiritual. That's not word for word. I didn't write down the exact quote, but that's what Spencer W. Kimball was getting at. Yeah, and one thing I appreciate about this book is Sherry. She shares some of her personal experiences in it and personal feelings. She is a woman who has, at the time of this book, never been married. she's never been married. She hasn't had a child out of wedlock, to the best of my knowledge. She didn't say anything about that in here. So I feel sympathy for her when I'm reading her about how she feels about that. But I appreciate that she doesn't try to water down the doctrine. Somebody who's not married might try to water down the doctrine, might try to not talk about the doctrine of the church. You could even call it dogma of the church, that in the celestial kingdom there is a married people section, and that is the best place to be. That is exaltation. And you must be married the right place, the right way, to get into that place. And she's open about that. She didn't hide that doctrine. So, this is a well-written book. I recommend it to anyone. And it is Women and the Priesthood, What One Mormon Woman Believes. Good thing about that subtitle, she points out, is what one Mormon woman believes. She didn't claim to speak for the whole church. She didn't claim to be the prophet receiving revelation. She's just claiming to be an active member, writing about what her understanding is. Unlike Bruce R. McConkie naming a book Mormon Doctrine and making it sound like it's the official publication of the church and the official stance of the church on everything, which it wasn't and isn't. But that'll be another topic, another video, I guess. Have a good day.